people now, every time, a woman gets a late night talk show, they talk about this woman's in late night, and that this is breaking a barrier. And I always think yes, that's great and it's important, but I always try and remember that you, Mary Tyler Moore, Lucille Ball, were smashing these barriers 60 years ago.
Yeah.
It's absolutely stunning. Yeah. And we need to remember that because I think you guys...
Well, CBS didn't want me to do it.
They didn't want you to do the show?
No, they didn't want me to do a variety show. Mm-hmm. And I had a weird contract that said that that I'd signed a few years before with CBS, that if Carol, wanted to do a variety show, hour-long comedy variety show, CBS would have to put it on for 30 shows, whether they wanted to or not. That was some agent.
Yeah, I could have used him in 1993.
And so when the time came, I pushed that button and got one of the vice presidents of CBS on the phone. And I said, I think I want to push that button. That's what we call it. He said, what button? He forgot about it. And I said, where I get to do 30. Oh, let me get back to you. So he called the next day. It's sure he got a bunch of lawyers, to find out about that contract. He said, yeah, I see that, Carol. But comedy variety is a man's game.
Yeah.
And he said, it's Caesar, it's Jackie Gleason, it's Milton Berle, now it's Dean Martin.
Dean Martin, yeah.
Yeah, and he said, it's not for you gals. He said, we've got this sitcom we'd love you to do called Here's Agnes.
That is the perfect bad pitch sitcom. And by the way, I'd like to bank that now. Yeah. I will put up the money, Carol, if you'll do the Agnes show. Well, I think it's safe to say you proved them wrong.
I think so, yeah. Well, at least we got 30 shows out of it, and we wound up having 276, so we did okay.
It must have been interesting the next morning after the Carol Burnett show aired. I know that everyone else, in my house would be talking about it the next morning. We'd be talking about all the things that we saw and what made us laugh. One of 6 kids. We're all packed together in this house. We're all about 6 months apart. I don't know how my mom did that. And we it's the Irish thing. But we would be talking about, because we loved your show. And I'm curious, as Carol Burnett, you must have been hearing from people the next day about, you must have been curious. Well, would you guys, people from the street or just people in your life? Was there?
From the get-go, people were pleased.
Yes.
Now, we didn't score every week by any means, but we had a pretty good average, and the first few years, like first 2 or 3 or 4 years, I was more goofy, like I had been on the Gary Moore show, which is why they wanted me to have Lyle so that I could swoon over Lyle. And after that, I thought, wait a minute, I'm married and I've got children. Let's not do that anymore. That's when we started giving Lyle more to do other than for me to go gaga over.
Right.
And then we started getting more, I don't know, a little bit serious when we did the family show.
Yeah.
Where Eunice and Mama and Ed and some of those were, you look up dysfunction in the dictionary and you'd find that sketch.
It would get very dark. And I remember thinking it got to me in a good way. I remember very well when your character went on
The Gong
Show.
Yeah.
It's all played for comedy. And then you get gonged and the camera just stays on your face.
And it gets smaller and smaller and smaller.
Smaller. And you're thinking, is there going to be some reprieve or some laugh? And there wasn't.
No.
And I remember that to this second, how powerful that was. Yeah. And it gave me the idea that it doesn't always have to be funny.
Right.
It's one of those memories I have
Well,
from
some
television.
people hated it.
Of course they did, yeah.
It made them uncomfortable. And then others, after it had aired a few times, I was getting a manicure, and the manicurist was Russian. And she said, "You know that family you do?
Mm-hmm.
That's just like my family in Russia." So people identified.
But what's interesting too, you were playing this really real dysfunctional family, and then that is most comedy now, the comedy of discomfort and dysfunction.
Yeah.
So what you were, not initially, but what you were playing with a little bit was something that now is de rigueur. It's all comedy, I feel.
But you didn't see stuff like that on a variety show.
You did not.
That was different. And what's really funny was we only thought we were going to do it one time. So they had written for me to be Mama, and we were going to have a guest star be Eunice.
Mm-hmm.
But Eunice spoke to me because my mother had a lot of dreams that never came true.
Yeah.
And I said, I think I want to play Eunice. So then we were going to hire an older woman to play Mama.
Right.
And Bob Mackey, our costume designer, said, "Oh, let Vicky do it. We'll just take off her eyelashes and put her in a fat suit and put a wig on her, and that's it." So,
And she was so young at the time playing.
24.
Yeah. Hilarious.
24 years old. And as I said, we hired her when she was 18 to be my sister, and she wound up being my mother.
The business will do that to you.